Good day, everybody, and welcome to this session of the Climate Migrant Symposium hosted by Western Michigan University in partnership with the Global Center for Climate Mobility and Platform on Disaster Displacement. This session will focus on rural adaptation in Ethiopia and Nigeria. My name is Sibel Shattuck, and I'm an associate professor at the School of Environment, Geography, and Sustainability at Western Michigan University, and it is my privilege to host this session today. The symposium brings together researchers and practitioners working at the intersection of climate change, migration, and urban resilience. Over the next few days, we're exploring how communities and institutions can better support those displaced by climate-related impacts. In the session today, we have two speakers, and we hope our third will be able to join us. There seems to have been a delay for him. So each of our presenters will have 18 minutes to share their work, and after their presentations, we'll move into a conversation among speakers and then take audience questions through the Q&A function. So let me introduce our speakers today. We have Adelowo Adefisayo Adewoyan, an environmental researcher and climate resilience advocate whose work bridges research and practice, focusing on how vulnerable populations, especially rural and migrant communities, can adapt to climate risks through innovation, policy engagement, and sustainable livelihoods. We have Tigist Getahun Kaleta, who is a graduate student at the School of Development Studies at Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University in Delhi. She holds a bachelor's degree in geography from Bahir Dar University and a master's degree in demography from Addis Ababa University in Ethiopia. With her experience working on development programs for both local and international organizations, she brings an interdisciplinary perspective to her research, which currently focuses on drought-induced displacement in Borena, Ethiopia. And if we are fortunate enough, we will also be joined by Aweke Agumas Tewachu, who is a lecturer in the Department of Geography and Environmental Studies at Arba Minch University in Ethiopia. He holds a Master of Science in Population Studies from Bahir Dar University and a bachelor's degree in Geography and Environmental Studies from Arba Minch University. And he would be looking in his work at climate change and GIS and how those can intersect with traditional environmental knowledge. For the format of our session, those of you who are observing our presenters, you can put questions in the Q&A function on the Zoom. Presentations, we will have first a conversation amongst our presenters and then open it up for participation and questions with the audience. And we do have the capacity to unmute people. So if you have a brief question, but you think it needs clarification, you can raise your hand and we can work on that. We are blessed with excellent tech people to support this online conference. So now we will begin with the first presentation by Adelowo Adefisayo Adewoyan, and he is going to be speaking about climate-driven migration and rural immobility, climate impacts on farming livelihoods in southwestern Nigeria.
Am I on?
Yes, you are.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Adelowo Adefisayo from Nigeria. I want to use this medium to appreciate West Michigan University for this opportunity to present my research work on climate-driven migration and rural mobility. Sorry. Please, I have little issue with my screen. Sorry. Sorry, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Oh, sorry.
Now we can't.
Oh, sorry. All right. Rural mobility and climate impact on farming livelihood in southwestern Nigeria. Extreme climatic conditions, their deviation from norms and are capable of upsetting agricultural productivities and rural livelihood in Nigeria. Studies have shown that climate variability in disrupting farming livelihood in rural community in Nigeria, driven migration and deepening rural mobility and amid weak policy implementation and limited adaptive capacity. The significance of this study. This study provides valuable insights in how climatic variability shape migration and immobility in the study area. The aim of this study is to assess climatic variability, how it affects mobility and farming activities in the study area. The study area is Iyonfo-Orogi, which is a local community in Ife East local government area, Osun State, southwestern Nigeria. And the area is typical rural agrarian community where over 85% of people living in this community depend on farming activities for their livelihood. The objective for this research are to analyze extreme climatic elements and their attributes in Iyonfo-Orogi community between 1984 and 2018. Also to examine the impact of climatic variability on agricultural productivities and rural livelihood, to assess how changing climatic conditions influence migration and immobility among farming households. And lastly, to identify local adaptation strategy and the gap between climate policy and policy implementation. This study is a mixed method research, which involved a 34 years climatic data of rainfall, temperature, and which were obtained from the archive of NASA power data due to the absence of methodological station in the study site. Key informant interview from small older farmers and local policymakers in the study area were collected. And these qualitative responses were analyzed thematically to identify the pattern of migration and their coping strategy, then their perception to climatic changes. This research were analyzed using Python programming libraries through the descriptive statistics, time series analysis, and machine learning. Results shows that there were high level of variability of coefficient of variation of rainfall, 144.33%. And also there is high level of temperature variability, mostly recorded in December and January due to Harmattan season. Extreme wind cases were also recorded in some years of study. Looking at this figure, variability in average monthly rainfall were more pronounced in the month of June, July, August, and September of the month of study year. Also, rainfall irregularity occur mainly in the year 1988, 1997, 2006, in the year 2008, and year 2010. Dry spell occurrences were recorded and were more pronounced in the year 2000 and year 2005. Variability in rainfall in temperature, this result shows that there are variability in temperature across the years of study. Also, the wind speed variability, also there are decrease in some years, most especially decline in the year that is 1995, where wind speed has its declines. For the extreme cases, the box plots shows that the extreme events were more pronounced in the year 1988, then in the year 1997, in 2008, and in 2010. Also, extreme heat were also recorded in the months of February, March, and April of the month of studies. And also, variability occur more in the month of December and January, probably due to Harmattan period. For the extreme box plot cases in the outliers for wind speed, extreme cases in wind incidents occur mostly in the month of October, which is the month that these extreme cases is well pronounced. According to the information gotten from the key informants, as there are impacts of extreme cases, which as a result of excess rainfall, delayed rainfall, high temperature, windy events, and also this impact causes decrease in their income and also lead to threats to food security in the community. And also, this also leads to out migration of young male farmers. Looking at these results, the results shows that the farmers, 76% of the farmers engage in changing planting dates, 70% engage in mixed cropping, 64% engage in crop rotation, 57% uses improved seed variability, while 23% engage in the use of irrigation system. The challenges faced by the farmers are due to climatic variability problem, lack of climate information, high cost of farm inputs, poor extension system, low awareness in that is climate training, and 55% shows that they have limited access to fund. The mobility, dynamics, and climate-induced movements. In the study area, the major climatic driver for mobility are excess rainfall, delayed rainfall, and windstorm. For this study area, the mobility type that the farmer recorded are internal relocation within farm community, seasonal labor migration to towns, and youth out migration due to economic hardship. And this mobility dynamics has caused a lot of far-reaching implication on strain on family labor system, agricultural knowledge, and labor laws. Then it causes disruption to their local farm settings. For the respondents, 46% of these respondents, they are middle age, while 35% they are mainly youth, and 19% are aged people of age group 56 to 65. the age group pattern of migration and adaptation in Inyofo community. The youths tend to have higher migration tendency, and in which they move to city for greener pastures. And middle age, between age 41 to 55, we have in that age group we have moderate migration, and they have livelihood diversification. Some of them remain in the rural area while they combine other trading activities in order to sustain their livelihood. The aged people between the age of 15 to 65, they engage more in high immobility due to the health issue and due to their ties to ancestral history and their local belief to some traditional, due to their traditional belief of not leaving their ancestral home. This is a case study of a 62-year-old farmer that expressed the local reality of climate stress and migration. Sorry. This man explained that the younger ones are no more in the farm, and for them, the older ones, they still remain within the community because of their age, and they don't even have where to go anymore because of their age factor. And also, some of them, their youths, their children have even migrated to the cities in order to get greener pastures. Sorry. Sorry, my slide is not moving. Oh. Anyways, in conclusion, this study shows that there are effects of extreme climatic condition which reduces the farmer yield output, and it causes most of the youth to migrate from the farm community to cities for greener pastures. And also, some of the farmers, they engage in mixed farming method as coping strategy for them, to meet up with their livelihood. And also, this study contributes to the Sustainable Development Goal 2, which is zero hunger, and climate action, that is Goal 13. So also, finally, this study also established that there are more mobility stress due to climatic incidents, and this has caused the younger ones to move from the rural area to urban area in order to search for greener pastures. So thank you for listening, and I appreciate this opportunity once again. And thank you. I'm sorry for the age of moving my slide. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The slides that we got to see were wonderful for conveying the information about the changes in rainfall and also the patterns of what is happening in the community. And I look forward to the discussion that we'll have later.
Thank you so much.
So we'll save questions until the end and move on to our second presentation by Tigist Getahun, who's going to speak about climate-induced displacement in southern Ethiopia, a case study of Borena's pastoralist and agro-pastoralist communities.
Thank you very much for the introduction and having me here. So my research is focused on climate-induced displacement in the southern part of Ethiopia, specifically the case of Borana pastoralist and agro-pastoralist communities. My study is still going on, and I would love to share some of the preliminary findings during this session. I'll go through these outlines, starting from introduction to community response. Starting from the introduction part, globally, around 9.8 million people displaced due to disaster throughout different countries. And this figure is mainly focusing on those who are in the status of displacement by the end of 2024. But rather the new displacement number is much greater than 20 million. Some of them return back and some of them are reintegrated. So this figure is only those who are as IDP status by the end of 2024, which means that the displacement happened prior to 2024. To give examples, out of 5 countries with large number of displacement in the world, Ethiopia and East Africa also there with big figure from East African countries from Horn of Africa. And one of the examples during the previous years, the drought happened between 2020 to 2022. It was an intensified drought, which has happened not only in the southern part of Ethiopia, but also in Kenya and in Somalia regions. So this is due to shortage of rainfall because of climatic related factors. Coming to my study area, my ongoing study place located in the southern tip of Ethiopia. And predominantly the area is lowland, arid lowland area. And the pastoralists and agro-pastoralists solely depend on their livelihood and some small-scale agricultural system in the southern part of Ethiopia. And this area affected by drought and other time flood during the previous years, like drought every 5-10 years happening in the arid and semi-arid part of Ethiopia. When you go in the southwestern and southeastern part, the thing is so different, the livelihood is so different. This one is I'm presenting the case of those who are located in the southern area, the place called Borana. My main objective is to understand the drivers of displacement in the area and explore the lived experience of those who are affected throughout this process, who moved to the new places, and what are the policy response and intervention in the area. As I mentioned previously, the prolonged drought between 2020 to 2022 is the main reason as a result of 4 consecutive failed rainfall in the Horn of Africa. This resulted in very huge loss of pastoralist livestock and crop failure, and as a result, the inflation, every related programs were there. The main driver is the climatic issue, failure of rainfall in the area, even though it's connected with different socio-economical factors, can raise their resilience on solely in the rain-fed agricultural system, which is one of the common one is livelihood. So they were not able to adapt the situation. COVID also happening throughout the country and other social factors as well. For example, pastoral communities are highly connected with their cattle. They don't want to sell their cattle because they consider their cattle as part of their household. These issues are also there because they're not happy to sell them or to use them as some of the pastoral community to use as a food in their community because they are part of their household. And the traditional way of coping mechanisms in the area is overstretched as a result. I will explain what are the traditional coping mechanism practice in Borana in the next slide. And the situation aggravated because of delay in terms of response from government and stakeholders all type of stakeholders based in Ethiopia, and also some of the prevention. For example, the state constructed water harvest dam in Borana, but it was not sufficient for the community to meet the demand of pastoralist community. So the indigenous coping mechanism is highly related to the system, the traditional system available in a place. The traditional system governed in Borana area is called Gada traditional system. It's not only in Borana, in other parts in Oromia region in general. And this traditional system is a kind of framework, socio-economic framework, used for governance and dispute resolutions. As I said, it's not confined in Borana, in other parts of Ethiopia as well, within Oromia region. And the leader of Gada system is called Abba Gada. Abba Gada is the highest hierarchy of Gada system, and it comes through different hierarchy, village, sub-village, up to household level. And the role of Abba Gada is to oversee both socio-economic and political affairs within Ghana institutional structure. So as I said, it comes to household level, up to 1 to 5 household structure. 5 household supported by 1 elderly within Gada system. They call it 1 to 5 structure. To give one of the example in the Gada system is Busa Gonafa. It's a kind of social support system. I would say it's a kind of informal safety net system within the Gada system. It's a real support system whenever there is a crisis like conflict, drought. It's just sharing resources they have. It could be cattle redistribution, livestock redistribution, permanently or temporarily, based on the situation in the area. Then once the drought season passed, if it is temporarily, the cattle will return to the community members who owns them. Or it could be permanently, depend on their vulnerabilities, their social system is very strong in the area. And even they do have their traditional way of forecasting, weather forecasting. Discussing 2 types of weather forecasting as part of Gada system. Ayantu and Uchu. Ayantu is kind of using astronomical system, like the pattern of star and the like, to forecast the upcoming rainfall. And Uchu is by studying animal intestine, they again forecast the upcoming rainfall in the area. So these are some of the traditional systems that help them to move from place to place. By nature. They are moving, looking for access for food and water for their cattle, and also to design their own way of adaptation strategy in the area. So one of the things during the severe drought time, this available indigenous system of coping mechanism overstretched and people left their places. Not all people, some of the IDPs are moved to the new area. Mostly the mobility decision was made versus availability of rainfall, livestock. Once they lost their livestock, they left their place and joined their neighbors or families who already lived. So people are left their places and settled along the road in the near small towns in the area, looking for a support from the nearest town places. And my target area in Borana, those communities who are displaced from 2 to 4 years since their displacement in their new places. And I have noticed a temporary camps have gradually evolved into permanent settlements. To show this situation, I put 2 pictures. The upper one I took in 2023. It's the houses, most of the house covered with tent. And the second one is I have seen the evolution of some change in their settlement by using what they have available resources, like by using wood or mud in the area, they start constructing somehow tin shed kind of houses. but still the situation in terms of self-sufficiency, the problem is there. And self-identification, one of my results I got in the area, they prefer to be called as the resident or they want to use the village name where they are settled. X or Y village people. They don't prefer to be called those who are in the camps or like that, because they said it creates some kind of dependency. We were very self-sufficient people in our community, but because of this, the problem happened, we left our places. So they prefer to be called as dweller of XY village in the area. And some conflicts also reported in the southern part of Borana due to conflict over resource as a result of the climate-induced mobility within their community. So another social tension created. Coping mechanism in their new settlement, changing their livelihood. Now they give up their pastoralist and agro-pastoralist way of living to small-scale agriculture. They were provided with small plot of land in the area, so they start cultivating on those lands. And they also depend on daily, they are working as a daily labor activities, even though they are earning very low. Some of them are less than $2 per day. And depend on what's available, resource available in their village to earn their living. What is the policy response look like, the intervention look like? There are different frameworks. As East Africa, Ethiopia signed Kampala Convention to protect IDPs, to protect and provide support to IDPs. And also national level disaster and risk management manual or platform is there. And also the one I am displaying in this slide is a national strategy working solution to internal displacement in Ethiopia. So the government is supporting voluntary return or local integration and relocation in the area. Coming to the Borana case, every intervention is through the preliminary coordinators of any kind of intervention is through disaster and risk management structure in the area. They are working on livelihood diversification, as I said, by introducing drought resistance agricultural system and agronomic system in the area, and still humanitarian aid is there. So what I would say is they are not still self-sufficient. They are still depending on aids. And coming to the conclusion, it is important to use community-based, community-driven kind of solution. Involving them in a decision-making process is crucial, and also allocating adequate amount of resource in the area is also important. And also improve infrastructure, especially water and pasture land in the area, as the majority of population in the southern part, those who are pastoralists and agro-pastoralists. So pasture land improvement also, the area needs major improvement, and the protection also, protection of those who are displaced in the area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's kind of extraordinary to have drought in one place and flooding in the other, and to see how we have the two extremes of the climate impact affecting people, and the challenges this poses for us to figure out how to support people. So hopefully migration will not be as much of a necessity. So the first part of our response to these wonderful presentations, we'd like to invite our two presenters to, if they have questions for each other, or if they see ways that their research has synergies or from UK, and unfortunately, due to internet problems, he is not able to join us today. We will invite him to make a video of his presentation, and then we'll upload it to the conference records so that it will be included in the record of this session for people to see later. So, Tigris, Adilo, are there ways that you see connections or questions you have for each other about your research?
Thank you so much. I want to appreciate Delita for brilliant presentation, and I'm looking forward for integration of GIS aspects of flooding into work of migration driven extreme climatic condition, so which I believe it is workable, which we can connect. So I appreciate you for that. Then the question I just want to ask is, your case study, how did you arrive at using the place you use for your study case?
Thank you for your question. I have selected Borana due to during the time there was high number of population were displaced. So as part of my study, I'm a student currently, so I was asked to choose a place to work on. So during the time of my research selection area, the two places in Ethiopia highly affected by displacement due to climate, that's the area of my work. So the two places are Borana in Somalia, in the southern part of Ethiopia, Somalia. So then, because of the high inflation of population during that time, that's how I selected my case study. And as I mentioned also, the study is still going on. I haven't completed, it's going on. I want to present some of my findings here. And the thing I would like to raise the connection between our presentation is in terms of the fact that both of us are focusing on indigenous people and their way of coping mechanism. That is where I see the connection between the two presentations. They use their own coping mechanism and methods in both places, even though one in flood, one in drought, but those are indigenous, voiceless people in the area. That's where I see the connection. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that for both of you, you spoke about the importance of the community participating in the decisions about what happens to them. And I wonder if you could speak more to how that, are there examples where you've seen that actually done well? So it always, to me, it helps if you have a good example, really inspires one to think about ways to replicate that or to model that.
In my case, during having discussion with the community members, those who are now engaged in agro-pastoralist system, they used to practice agriculture, but currently they are engaged in agricultural system. I have seen them questioning, then the water is scarce in the area, so how can we do this? So it looks they want to engage in other type of activity in the area. I'm not, explaining the best case studies, but they are questioning still the problem. The water scarcity is the main reason, but when we are engaging in agricultural system, we need more water to undertake as a livelihood. So they are questioning these things. So engaging them in decision making is important to choose their means of livelihood. Yeah, this is what I would like to say. Thank you.
Yeah, also in addendum, for my own, what I see in the community, most especially in my case study, because it's a rainfed agrarian area. some of them, they tend to, use the issue of irrigation, but because of limited resources. And, with the issue of grain farming now, I still see some of them, try to employ this method, but because of lack of funding, it limits them. Because during, like, there is a case study that I saw in the case site. There is a woman that's, use all these polyethylene, nylon for, garden, planting vegetable, and it's sustainable, quite right. But when I approached her to ask more question, she was like, she's limited to for the enlargement of this business due to your finance. I know green agriculture and irrigation is something that's at least they need to, to adopt. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Sibel. I just wanted to let you know that Aweke, I believe, has been able to join. So if you are open to it, perhaps we could switch to having his presentation before we continue.
We have time for that. Yes, it will be wonderful.
Thank you so much, Sibel. Hi, Aweke. I'm hoping you can hear us. We can't hear you. Okay, it seems we're still having some technical difficulties. Again, sorry about this, and thank you for your patience. Sibel, if you don't mind continuing, and I will try and troubleshoot Aweke's connection here and see if we can try and we have some time for his presentation. Thanks.
Thank you for your attention to this complicated technology.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I sympathize with these problems because at my house I had no internet over the weekend. It happens so easily. So coming back to the questions about the presentations that we just heard, one of the things I was struck by is that in both your presentations, you talked about the divisions in the community between those who would like to retain the traditional lifestyle and those who are perhaps more interested in moving towards an urban environment and new ways of living. And I was struck, it's so complicated, isn't it? The division across the genders, or sorry, across the generations, but then also the very real question of if there's this great disruption to livestock traditions and agricultural traditions, what happens to the food supply in our countries? And I wonder if in the people you were speaking with, if they talked about this, or if the organizations that you've worked with that are trying to help people who are dealing with drought and flood that disrupt lifestyle, if they've been talking about these concerns about food production.
All right. Yeah, thank you for that excellent question and observation, ma. Oh, it's a major concern. It is a major concern because the key informants that I have interaction with, they discuss about food insecurity now that have eaten them up. Even for the problem now is even farmers buying food from other farmers. So it's a major problem, and it's even causing a lot of stress on the even urban that people are rushing to. And presently in Nigeria, presently now, there is high cost of food in Nigeria. And this is as a result of migration and also the extreme climatic incidents that have disrupted the planting activities. So this has caused a lot of food insecurity presently in our country. Thank you.
Yes. So Aweke, we can now see you. Hopefully we will also be able to hear you. Karishma, do you get any sound? I did not.
Yes, so unfortunately, I think it's a real internet connection issue, including the video and mic. So we're sadly going to ask Aweke to be present and, of course, share his energy in the space with us, but to submit a video of his presentation that we can add as you had suggested. So thank you, Sibel.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, before I invite the audience to ask questions, I have one more that's because of my particular field of research. I study faith-based environmental work, and I know that Adilo, in your work in Nigeria, you mentioned that faith traditions were part of the coping strategy that people were using to make sense out of these dramatic changes that are happening in their lives. And so I wondered if you could speak a little to this. How is faith helping as a coping strategy? Are there differences in the way different older and younger members of the community rely on that strategy? Perhaps you could just expand on that a little bit.
All right. So this, there is the issue of tradition you can't take away from people. Belief you can't take away from people. Some still believe that the issue of climatic variability is as a result of their sin that they have committed. So some they engage in community section prayer to pray to God in order to have, to take them back to the normal climate season, whereby they know the time that the rain starts, they know the time that the rain stop. But presently, they believe a lot, even majority of the aged people that have lived for long in the rural community, they believe that climatic variability is as a result of human sin to God. And most of them, the reason why some of these people don't move, the aged people in question, why they don't engage in migration is their belief. Some of them, they have buried their father, their mother in the rural area. They believe that if they leave that area, the spirit of their father or their mother will be tormenting them wherever they go. So that is one of the factors why they remain in the local rural area. Even when they have problem of food insecurity, they still believe that God will provide for them. And they have this conviction that their prayer will be answered one day. They don't know the time. They don't know how, but they believe that God will answer their prayer. So the belief and religion, the tradition, you can't take away from, the aged people in the rural area. They practice their tradition, they go to church, they worship their God, they go to mosques, they do, they even practice, there's a mix, what we call mixed tradition. Some, they call themselves Christler Arab. That is, they practice Christianity, one person, they practice Islam, and they practice this traditional worship. So they still believe that with that, things will reset back to normal.
Thank you. That's fascinating. And I've heard similar stories from other places. I should not digress. I would love to speak further about this with you, but I think it also connects to what East was saying about the culture change that's going on. That this displacement and the damage to the rural community is placing stresses on the cultural understanding of how people fit into the world and how people and their spirituality and their social systems and everything are related to the physical world, but the physical world has changed, and now the culture must adapt as well. Yeah. So people who've been watching, I see we have a question from the audience. Allegra says, given how important the presenters described it is to maintain communities' togetherness and their autonomy and self-reliance, what would you like authorities and policymakers to know or do differently? How can policymakers help support the cohesion of these communities? Tigist, would you like to start this time?
Sure. Thank you very much. So one of the things I would say, if the authority and the community would like to do to somehow support this affected community, one of the things, as I said, is making them part of their own decision-making process and implementing those policies available as continental level, national level, regional level, local level. We do have those documents. So implementing those documents through a continuous rigor monitoring system and evaluation. One of the things is implementing what we have as a document. And also the other thing is, I would say, collaboration. There are different stakeholders in different places. So yeah, there is a place to collaborate. There is an office to collaborate, but more collaborate and add resource to help them to choose their way of living. Some of them, but some of the people who are interviewed, they want to return to their places, but they don't have any livestock left to continue the previous type of living in the area. So they still need support from the area. As I said, aid is there. They are not self-sufficient currently, even though they are settled in a place in new area. So coordinated way of by adding more resource to choose their way of livelihood. And for those who want to return with their previous way of life, they need real support in the area. So those documents will help if they are implemented, I believe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you so much. From my own hand, due to the, what I experienced on the field while collecting my data, I discovered that there is this bridge of trust between the local farmers and the policymakers. Here, they see the policymakers as people that just comes to them to get information, use it for their own personal, enrichment. And so there should be a collaboration and the rebuild of trust between the local farmers and the governmental organization. Also, there should be a decentralized decision-making body. There should be a lot of program that need to come to rural communities. Everything should not be centered in the urban place. The people that have that information, they are the local people. Their adaptation strategies must be incorporated in the policy making system. There should not be a separation between the policymakers and the local people, and also the access of infrastructure. There should be modern infrastructure be put in place in the rural area. This will make them to have a sense of belonging. Most of these places, it's very, very saddening that when you get to some of the places, the road network is bad, where in the cities there are good networks. Communication networks are there in the city, but when you go to some of the rural area, there is no internet availability. So all these things shows that people will tend to move, for comfortability. They will tend to move to leave the rural area to urban city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kate has a question. Do these indigenous communities receive knowledge and findings from the studies in which they participate? So the work that you've been doing. If so, how has this enabled them to adapt further? And if not, how can this be rectified? Adilo, you're already on screen, so.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, the indigenous people, the adaptation rely on indigenous knowledge. And from my findings, there is this, this study that I'm planning to engage as a continuous study in order to, to drive out my findings and give to the local health community, whereby we can have a focus group discussion and tell them, there are my findings about the study that I've engaged in the community. And I think this will help strengthening climate awareness. It will help to support, localized adaptation, and also it will also makes, scientific finding to be well, refined and communicate in the local language, because my plan now is just to use adapt every of my findings, to my indigenous local language, so that these people will understand and we know more better than climatic change. It's even beyond the issue of, tradition and belief. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a great question. My study is still going on. It's not finalized. So what is my plan, the team of my research committee, is to present to the communities, those stakeholders who are evolving throughout the research process while I am collecting data. This includes both state, international, local organization, and also the main stakeholders who are affected communities to be involved in the disseminating the result during the end of the session, at the end of my research. My aim is to voice their concern by using my own tools, implementing in the field, and to share the voice of those who are really affected throughout the process. Sharing this result, not only for the stakeholders, but also the leaders of those elders. I mentioned the structure, the Gada system up to the lower, the elders who are leading the 5 households. I would involve them in the dissemination process to see how I am coming up. Really hoping they'll take in from throughout the process. I'll share everything, my journey, and at the end, sharing their concern of the voiceless. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other questions from our attendees today? Well, one question I was thinking of is, you've both spoken about people who very much would like to return to farming, would return to the raising of livestock, cattle. Cows are just so beautiful. And you talked about a generational difference, that young people were more likely to be interested in alternatives. Do you find that there is a cohort, a group of young people who would like to live a more traditional lifestyle, who would be interested in doing this work to bring some new infrastructure, new technology, knowledge back to their ancestral lands?
Yes. Yes, because with my engagement with some of the youths on the site, some of them too, they are planning because the greener pasture are no more greener in in the urban city. So some of them still feel that what they have learned and the knowledge they have acquired in the urban, they can come to replicate it within the rural area in order to, make even more income. Like there is a guy that I met during the feed, interaction. What this guy is doing is he always come back to the rural area to come and get, food supply. Then he take it to the urban for, to resell at higher price rates. And he said he is making more money. So I asked him that, why are you now living in the urban? He said he's planning to even relocate back to the rural area, that there are more money, that he now realized that there is more money in, in farming activities compared to the white collar job he's doing in the urban area. So I think more youth now, they tend to come back, to the rural area to establish themselves, and they see the rural area, it's always like a small income area where you can, navigate yourself with little finance, and you tend to have a lot of, benefits. So some of the youths are still planning to come back.
In Borana case, I interviewed people from different age group and sexuality. Those who are involved in the research, I would say more than 80%, they want to stay in their new localities because they gave up. They don't have anything to continue sustaining the previous way of livelihood in the pastoralist community. But still, some of the youth are going back and forth. They are managing in two places. They are going to their previous area and also, working as a daily laborer in the near urban places. So they are in two places, especially the youth. During the research, I met a majority of women and elderly in the area because the youth, especially young youth, they are being in two places, working in different parts of the town. So I would say the majority are preferring to stay in the new places. That's what I got from the discussion I have with the communities.
So you were speaking earlier about infrastructure that would help. Are there, I mean, when we think about policies and infrastructure, are there, if you were to prioritize, what would be some of the most important that might make it possible for these youth to stay connected to their communities and create this bridge that you're talking about?
Yeah, the main thing is still water as a resource in the area. Yeah, if the water harvesting systems will be bore water, any kind in their local setting, so their pasture land improved, they might return. So water is the question. As I said, drought like this happened in the previous years. It's not a new phenomena for the southern part of Ethiopia. But this one is a consecutive that makes them to, to live there as a driver force, to leave their places. If it is for one season, they might not leave their place. So I would believe water is a main kind of resource in the area to keep them in their place.
Yeah. Through my findings, I discovered that infrastructure is what people at the rural area need more. Once they get it, even there are some of them that will tell you that once government provide all the necessary things they need, they don't even need government anymore, that they can cater for their life themselves. So from my findings, I discovered that infrastructure is what the rural community need most, which can be supported by, a very good policy that can sustain the infrastructure. Thank you.
And Adewale, we have a question from Abdul Malik, who asks specifically, is the Nigerian government supporting community-based livelihood strategies?
Yeah. It is not that the government is not supporting, but the support is not enough. It is not enough. The truth be told, it's not enough. We have more people that need these resources better, and the proportion of the resources being given by government is not enough to cater for the population within the rural community. And there are some communities still today that have not even, tasted the effects of governance. So it's not enough at all. So government need to do more to make life better for people at the rural area. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from our community? It's kind of a perfect example of how infrastructure can change things, that we can even have this conversation from different sides of the world at the same time. It just shows what a game changer the internet would be for so many areas. A question from Aisha. Does the government in Nigeria use the findings in this kind of research for policymaking? So your wonderful paper, will they see it? Will they pay attention to it?
It's always, saddening when researchers do a lot of works, and most times governments are not that encouraging in most this part of the country. It's a major problem currently that researchers are facing, because most times we don't take the pain to publish our findings, research findings ourselves. Most times, most of this research are self-funding. They are self-funding, and a lot of researchers in Nigeria can bear witness to that. Government funding is not enough, and even when the extract of these findings are given to policymakers, some of them, their interest is their priority. Their interest is their priority. So it's not, I understand the perspective of the question, what the questioners is coming from. It doesn't really translate to what the global world see us in Nigeria. Most times government does not even really care about what we find out about the research. Some of them, because the way they got to the position, Some of them are not even well informed about research. So it's somehow difficult for some of them, to understand the research findings of researchers. So to implement, what researchers have come up with. Thank you.
I guess it's only fair to ask if the government of Ethiopia is paying attention to the research about climate change, given the severity of the drought conditions, and is the Ethiopian government offering support or developing strategies to try to help people?
Yeah, the strategies are there at different level, as I explained earlier as well. I'll definitely share my findings with those stakeholders who are involving in this process. One of the stakeholders are government staff. It will be in different hierarchy, lower, foreign level, national level. So I'll try to disseminate by any means available after the completion of the research. I'm hoping the figures or the results I'm getting through the scientific way of making research will come up with some recommendation and better to improve the community who are affected in the area. So dissemination will be there. I hope it will reach out those who are at least in the national level, in the local government level, and up to the national level. That's my hope, to use some of the findings and recommendations which will be included in the research. Thank you.
We still have another 10 minutes. If people have other questions, we can take advantage of these wonderful young researchers and the hard work that they've been doing to analyze these situations and think about the needs of people in these communities. As researchers, what resources would help you do this work?
From my side, the main resource is what's happening on the ground. Yeah, the pastoral, their traditional systems in the area, their previous way of living, the history, everything, what happened in the place, the similar topic. So not only in Ethiopia, but also in East Africa, in Sub-Saharan Africa, there are similar countries. Even in parts of Asia, like Bangladesh, there are many peoples in the area, especially related to flood. So those works that are related to my work is really important for me as a great source. So the main source is, for me, the people, the pastoralist community at the source. There are many. I can mention many organizations, international level and local level, but they are the one, the main lived experience of those people is the main source of resource for me.
Yeah, for me, there is still, a place of more technology, advanced technology resources that we help, to do this type of research in depth, to check even beyond key information in order to know the other environmental factors that affects mobility and immobility. Then also finance is like this. My research is self-funding, and there is a limitation to what I can do. Even though I have a broader, research aims and objective, that can help me get more, information in the local area, but with the little resources that I got myself, so it's a limitation. And also, like I said the other time, technology now, in order to meet up with global South research research findings, someone need a technology that, like, for example, say the machine learning that I'm using, there are still some tools that is needed, to upgrade, the analysis and a lot other things too. Then mobility, like because of like what I said the other time, like financial limitation, there are some sites that I ought to move to, or I'm not that mobile, so it's serve as a constraint for the research. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank both of our speakers for two wonderful presentations and for these really thoughtful conversation. I always think that it's the story of the people on the ground, the real people, that transforms the way we think about this abstract thing of climate change. And when we think about what needs to happen, it's about helping those real people, right? And I think for all of us, this is what drives us to do scholarship, the thought that the work we do may actually help, may actually have some greater value in contributing to the well-being of other people in our communities and around the world. So I want to thank you both very much for your presentations and for this very thoughtful discussion. I would point out to everybody that there are further presentations yet today, and for the next 2 days, you can visit the link www.climatemigrant-symposium.org for more information about other sessions and see the full schedule of speakers and abstracts and what's going on over the next 2 days. And hopefully this community that we're building here with our new technology that allows us to communicate without flying places and putting carbon emissions in the air. Hopefully we'll be able to build a network that can help to address some of these issues and facilitate action to deal with this great challenge of our time. So I thank you both, and I hope that given the time change, you will be able to get some sleep. And I thank everybody who attended this session. It was good to have an audience, even if we couldn't see you. And thank you very much for the good questions that you contributed to this conversation today. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the symposium. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much.